A tornado emergency for the city of Wichita.
2 people, the result was fatal. Estimates of more than 30 dead.
It's unbelievable that it has lasted as long as it has.
There's nowhere to run when you have something like that coming.
This thing is blowing up before our eyes.
20 feet in a matter of less than 60 minutes.
And that's the onslaught of water caused by the low pressure.
And over to the left.
Oh my goodness. Look at that. Of Bryant and south of University. Get to a safe place right now.
Take cover.
Yes, please.
Right now.
Get to shelter. Get to shelter right now. Run.
In the field of meteorology, severe weather means something very specific. It means a wind event with the winds 58 to 60 miles per hour. It means a tornado, or it means hail that's at least 1 inch in diameter. So when there's a severe weather warning, one of those 3 criteria is expected. In broader terms, we like to use the term extreme weather, which captures things like heat waves, drought, hurricanes, flooding, and so forth. Weather is your mood and climate is your personality. So weather is the atmospheric conditions on any given day or week, but climate is the long-term statistical properties. We have extremes in both cases. We all live weather, we experience weather, but extremes are what gets people's attentions. Often scientists talk about average weather or the average temperature or the average amount of rain that falls. But as I told Congress when I testified before them several years ago, it's the extreme weather that people experience, whether that's heat waves, drought, floods, hurricanes, and so forth. And so when we think about atmospheric conditions, we have jet stream patterns and El Nino. We have the backdrop of climate change and weather variability. And within that mix of factors, we can get extreme weather. In the springtime, we often see that in the form of tornadoes and hail. In the period of June to November, we see hurricanes that affect the United States. And throughout the year, we can see flooding and even extreme cases of heat and cold. As a scientist who studies the atmosphere, I'm interested in the continuum from weather to climate because they're related. And increasingly, we have information and studies that suggest that climate change is amplifying the intensity or frequency of extreme weather events. Over the last several decades, scientists have warned that extreme weather will be one of the telltale signs of climate change, and we're starting to see that. And I often have people say, well, Dr. Shepard, the climate changes naturally. We've always had hurricanes and heat waves. Absolutely we have. But I also remind them that grass grows naturally, but when we fertilize our lawn, it grows differently. And so it's not an either or proposition, it's an and proposition. We have a naturally varying weather and climate system that has a steroid of human or anthropogenic climate change on top of it. What we know is that the climate system is very sensitive to changes. That 1, 2, 3 to even 5 degree change elevates ocean temperatures. It changes jet stream patterns. It increases the amount of water vapor the atmosphere can hold. I co-authored a report for the National Academies on whether the DNA of climate change is in today's weather. And what we found is that it certainly is. The extremity and frequency of heat waves, drought conditions, even extreme rainfall, all have signals of climate change in them today. You know, we know that our weather is changing. We know that climate is part of the driver of that change. And so you often hear discussion of mitigation, adaptation, and resiliency. Mitigation is the big picture solution. We've got to reduce carbon emissions in the atmosphere. And so we can bring this climate system back out of this sort of extreme condition that it's in. Adaptation is, okay, certain things are going to happen. We need to change how we live. So for example, in Europe, many of the homes do not have air conditioning, and yet they're now experiencing 100-degree plus heat, Fahrenheit. And so we know that most people die from heat overnight when the temperatures don't cool down enough. That's where the heat risks are. So an adaptation strategy would be to retrofit many of those homes in Europe with air conditioning. And then there's this broader discussion about resiliency. Here at the University of Georgia, we have the Institute for Resilient Infrastructure Systems, IRIS, which I'm a part of. And we are thinking about ways to increase resiliency to risk. Risk is defined as the hazard itself, whether it's a hurricane, a drought, or flood, exposure to that hazard, how sensitive we are to that exposure, and then our ability to bounce back or adapt to that. That's the resiliency part. And so when you frame all three of those together, you get risk. What we know is that across Georgia and even across the US and even globally, certain communities, certain demographics of people have higher resiliency or less resiliency to some of these weather events. And many of that is based on socioeconomic factors, communities of color, elderly populations, children under 5, or poor, irrespective of what color you are. No matter what you do today, weather is going to impact it, whether that's going to work, driving to work, your softball game later that afternoon, or even flying on an airplane. The food that you eat depends on rainfall, drought, and so forth. And so we need to have an understanding of weather in these terms, because people die and property is lost every year from weather extremes.
My first year, within 2 months, we got hit with Debbie, then Helene. We didn't get a lot of damage from those two storms, but we still had some effects from it, and everybody pulled together really good to help each other. And then, of course, in April, we got hit with the wildfire. The official ruling for the way the fire started was the Mylar balloon. It hit the wire, it sparked, and the way the drought was, it sparked, set the fire off. That was that Monday. Of course, you know, they thought they had it out. And then Tuesday it started. It wound up being, acreage-wise, it was 22,460 acres that wound up burning. During those couple of weeks the fire was burning, we just didn't have any rain. And so that's why it had burnt so bad. Everything was just so dry. And you could hear it coming through the woods. It's just really loud. And all you can do is just watch it come. There's no way of stopping it. And all of a sudden you just see this big wall of flame coming. And it's amazing to watch as long as nobody's in the way of it. And it just does what it wants to do. It's taking whatever's in front of it, it's taking it. And when they say move, you better move. But all of this area that we're driving by now was affected, burnt on both sides of the road, was affected by the fire. It was in the top of the trees blowing. That's why you'll see in some parts the tops are burnt, but the bottom is not burnt. They call that crowning. Overall, the firefighters, they done one heck of a job saving a lot of houses. This is Gatewood. This is the road, the neighborhood that most of the houses burn up. And I was just amazed at the damage. This is one of the homes that was destroyed during the Brantley fire. They've replaced it with one of the mobile homes and a couple of campers. A lot of these places had multiple families living on the properties, so that's why you'll see multiple campers or something on a single piece of property. Actually looks like one of mobile home is coming in now that iFloat Ministries has found to give one of the families.
We know everybody in this neighborhood. We're all a little community. We trade back oranges and eggs back and forth. And then the fire came and took everything we had. I saw it burning down from my son's house. He lives 6 miles up the road, and I saw that big plume of black smoke, and I knew that was our house. I literally lost everything. All my baby pictures, the movie pictures of them when they were tiny. You know, they say that as long as you're all okay, you know, you can replace things. No. There's so much stuff I cannot replace.
You pick up the best you can and you just try to keep moving forward. We have had so many volunteer groups here helping residents doing stuff.
Shelby Wilson is in Jessup. She is a ministry of a church in Jessup. And my husband's disabled, so she reached out and she's helping us. We have no insurance. I mean, we would have been sleeping in tents out here in the yard if it wasn't for her. She is such an angel, and I cannot ever in my life thank her more, ever. It's going to be a home. They're supposedly coming with a roof as well. They're going to put a roof on for us, and that's a godsend too. So between the roof and the deck and the ramp to get him into the house, you couldn't ask for much more than that.
We appreciate everybody locally, everybody from outside the county, everybody outside the state that has stepped up to help. It's been an awesome experience to see everybody step up and do that. It's just an amazing thing to see.
Weather affects all of us differently, but in a way it is a great equalizer because it affects what we can do outside, how we get to different places, and what kinds of destinations and opportunities we may have access to. Extreme heat is often called the silent killer. It is the leading cause of weather-related fatalities in the United States. Older adults are much more vulnerable to extreme heat. We have people who already have certain comorbidities. They would also be more susceptible. Young children, pregnant women, for example. So, and even someone who might be in the pink of health, but who's waiting at a bus stop that does not have a shelter. So standing for 15 minutes in the direct sun at 2 in the afternoon on an extremely hot day would put the best of us to shame. The No Heat Initiative stands for neutralizing onerous heat effects on active transportation. Walking, biking, public transportation, these are the only 3 options that are available to everyone, and weather creates that distinction based on who has access to a private vehicle and who does not. Right? So understanding these different mechanisms in which people might adapt and change how they move around and what the implications are in terms of emissions, in terms of congestion, extreme heat exposure, and so on. So that's one body of work my group does. The other is to come up with these tools and decision support systems that help community members, advocates, planners in thinking about how we can keep people safe. I do think what we're observing is that these kinds of extreme weather events are occurring in a more unpredictable manner. But how do we tackle that as everyday residents? So we know that it's super hot, but then you still have to go into work. You still have to find a way to go about your regular life. So how do you do that? And that's where we can start thinking about ways in which we can provide better options for people to move about. One tool that we have developed in our group is called the Cool Routes app. So what we have done is we've developed a modeling workflow that helps us estimate how hot a human being would feel, and using those model outputs, we have created a similar sort of recommendation platform where, again, you put in your origin and your destination and you choose whether you're walking or biking, and we give you options for the coolest routes between those points, and you can compare those options against the shortest route, so you can see how much additional time you would have to spend. So something like, okay, this route is going to be 5 minutes longer, but it's going to be 20% cooler. I think providing more such tools that helps people navigate heat better is going to be increasingly important as we see summers that are becoming more dangerous over time. So identifying these kinds of corridors where we can then put in heat mitigation interventions such as trees or bus shelters or even drinking fountains or misting stations, just helping people cool down a little bit, especially if they're outside and exposed for a long period of time. Being aware of extreme heat and the dangers of extreme heat and knowing that this summer is going to be extremely hot, that's just the first step. We have to go beyond that and help people deal with this extreme event. Recognizing that these events are no longer just a hypothetical possibility, knowing that these events can occur with increasing frequency at any point in time, we have to be better prepared. We have to trust the science. We have to work closely across different sectors. The more we can do to break down those barriers and silos and work together, and also recognizing that there is a tremendous amount of power within communities. Public officials, planners and policymakers, scientists and researchers, community members. So we all need to come together and figure this out from both ways, both top down and bottom up, and that's where we'll meet in the middle.
One of the things we increasingly know is that the way people understand weather and risk communication is challenging. They generally struggle with the concept of percent chance of rain. They struggle with the difference between watch and warning. They struggle with understanding things like the hurricane cone of uncertainty.
We need to do more as researchers to create or to share the information and the work that we are doing in a more easily digestible manner. That's a constant learning curve for many of us. We do fairly technical research, but we often are not as successful in helping the public understand why this is important and how this research can be helpful to them.
It really boils down to it's not going to happen to me. That's the way people think most of the time.
People say, well, I'm not worried about hurricanes and weather and climate because I got to pay the light bill or I've got to put gas in my car. But ironically, all of those things are related to those things. For example, when a hurricane moves through the Gulf, they shut down the gas and oil rigs out in the Gulf. So that reduces supply, then gas prices go up. When there are droughts in the Central Valley of California or in the Great Plains or Midwest, the price of grains and corn go up. So you're paying more for Cheerios and popcorn. But people don't make those connections because we tend to be very myopic and narrow in how we see the world and not think about how things are connected. And so that's one of the things that I think we can do a better job of connecting the dots to the sort of everyday kitchen table issues for people.
What I have observed is that a lot of decisions are made in retrospect. For example, if we have a major crash, we start thinking about safety and roadway design and speed limits and all of these interventions or measures that could have prevented that crash in retrospect, only after something has happened, right? So we want to be moving away from that sort of decision-making paradigm and trying to be more proactive, so anticipating what might happen. And we have the data to give us a very good sense of what we might be looking at. We cannot be planning for yesterday's conditions. We have to be thinking about the next summer and the summer after that and so on. By the time summer comes around, it's too late.
We want to have resources in place prior to something to happen, because when you need it, and you don't want to spend time looking for it.
The benchmark weather that we all grew up living is changing, has changed. That hurricane that you said, oh, I'll stay, I'm not going to evacuate 20 years from now. Today, that hurricane is very different, and you may be putting your lives in jeopardy. We need to be prepared for it, have plans for it, and understand that it's likely going to get a little worse before it gets better because we aren't really sort of moving the needle as fast as we need to on mitigating climate change.
Given the trajectory that we have been observing, it is quite likely that we will be experiencing more weather extremes. And when we talk about extreme weather, the two key components that I like to think of are unpredictability. So it's just going to get more unpredictable, and the intensity. So we're going to be seeing more forceful cyclones, stronger flooding, more extreme heat, higher temperatures, and so on. We have to not just educate the public or create awareness, but give them tools and resources that they can use.
I encourage people, in the same way that they brush their teeth or watch the news, have a weather plan before they go to bed. At least have some degree of weather awareness. The good resource is always the National Weather Service. I think people need to have an idea of who their National Weather Service office is. If, for example, if you're in Atlanta, it's the National Weather Service Atlanta. So always have access to their website or information. Your local TV meteorologists are particularly good if there are rapidly evolving threats with the weather. They're going to come on. They're mandated by the FCC to come on and provide updates and so forth. And then broader entities like the Weather Channel, for example, are always going to be, that's what they do 24/7.
With the climate change and the way things are going, we all need to think about doing preparedness for things that you don't never think is going to happen. Because we never thought it would happen, not ever.
We've gotten to a point where we often feel that we are the masters of the universe. Mother Nature is great at reminding us that that is not the case. These extreme events, I think, just give us a sense of our place in the wide world, and it's a great way to perhaps bring down some of the hubris that we may have gained over the years.
I've written in the past about our need to be humble and not exhibit hubris when it comes to weather and climate. We try to understand it. We try to know more about it so that we can improve the quality of life and save lives and property as scientists and translate that into meaningful actions. But at the end of the day, one of the very things that got me into this field is my fascination with hurricanes, or my fascination with lightning coming from a thunderstorm. But at the same time, that fascination is tempered by the fact that these are very dangerous events that change lives forever.
It's amazing what the wind damage can do and what the water damages can do.
It's almost not believable.
They make me feel humbled. They make me feel that I am human.
You can't be scared of it because it happens. You just have to deal with it when it comes. And you have to think reasonably and just don't be stupid out in it either. I mean, Mother Nature is crazy.
And as extreme weather is continuing to amplify, our knowledge and ability to understand, observe it, and model it is increasing dramatically. Our weather models are as good as ever. We're now incorporating aspects of artificial intelligence. We have massive satellite networks, Doppler radar systems, and some of the best scientists in the world on these problems. And so I do want people to think about things from the perspective that, yes, there's despair. Yes, there are extreme weather events. Yes, there are losses of life. But I'm an eternal optimist. We know what we need to do to fix the climate change problem. We have the technology. We just need the will to do it.